During my childhood, my family was like a drop of water in a vast river, never remaining long in one location. We settled in Rhode Island when I was about 8, and we remained there until I went to college in Colorado Springs. Now, most of my memories are rooted in Rhode Island, but there are fragments in the attic of my brain which belong to the various homes we lived in when I was much, much younger. Most of these memories are unclear and pointless. Chasing after another boy in the backyard of a house in North Carolina, trying to build a raft to float on the creek behind an apartment we rented in Pennsylvania, and so on. But there is one set of memories which remains clear as glass, as though they were made just yesterday. And I often wonder whether they are simply lucid dreams that were produced by the long sickness I experienced that spring. But in my heart, I know they're real. We were living in a house just outside of the bustling metropolis of New Vineyard, Maine, population 643. It was a large structure, especially for a family of 3. There were a number of rooms that I didn't even see in the 5 months we resided there. So in some ways, it was a waste of space. But it was the only house on the market at the time, at least within an hour's commute of my father's place of work. The day after my 5th birthday, which was only attended by my parents, I came down with a fever. The doctor said it was mononucleosis, which translation meant no more rough play, and I got to look forward to fever for at least another 3 weeks. This was absolutely horrible timing to be bedridden. We were in the process of packing our things to move to Pennsylvania, and most of my stuff was already sealed away in boxes, leaving my room barren. Bless her heart, my mother would bring me ginger ale and books several times a day, and they basically served as my primary form of entertainment for the next couple of weeks. Boredom always loomed just around the corner, waiting to rear its ugly head and compound my misery. I don't recall exactly how I met Mr. Widemouth. I think it was a week after I was diagnosed with mono. My first memory of the small creature was him asking me if he had a name. I don't know. So he told me, "Well, you can call me Mr. Widemouth then, 'cause I have a big old mouth." In fact, everything about him was large in comparison to his body. That bulbous head, those big eyes, his crooked ears. But his mouth was by far the largest. "You look kind of like a Furby," I said as he flipped through one of my books. Mr. Widemouth stopped, and he gave me a puzzled look. "Furby? What's a Furby?" he asked. I shrugged. You know, the toy? It's this little robot with big ears. You can stroke and feed them, almost like they're a real pet. "Oh!" Mr. Widemouth resumed his activity. Oh, you don't need one of those. They aren't the same as having a real friend." I remember Mr. Widemouth disappearing every time my mother stopped by to check in on me. "I lay under your bed," he later explained. "I don't want your parents to see me 'cause I'm afraid they won't want us to play no more." We didn't do much during those first couple of days. Mr. Widemouth really just looked at my books. He was fascinated by the stories and the pictures they contained. It was on the 3rd or 4th morning after I met him that he greeted me with a large smile on his face. "I have a new game we can play," he said. "But we have to wait until after your mother comes in to check on you because she can't see us play it. It's a secret game." After my mother delivered more books and soda at the usual time, Mr. Widemouth slipped out from under the bed and he tugged at my hand. "We have to go to the room at the end of this hallway," he said. And at first I objected, as my parents had forbade me from leaving the bed without their permission, but Mr. Widemouth persisted until I gave in. The room in question had no furniture or wallpaper. Its only distinguishing feature was a window opposite the doorway. Mr. Widemouth darted across the room and gave the window a firm push, flinging it open. He then beckoned me to look out at the ground below. We were on the second story of the house, but it was on a hill, and from this angle, the drop was further than 2 stories due to the incline. "I like to pretend up here," Mr. Widemouth explained. "I pretend there's a big old soft trampoline below this window, and I jump. If you pretend hard enough, you bounce back up like a feather. I want you to try." I was 5 years old with a fever, so only a hint of skepticism darted through my thoughts as I looked down and considered the possibility. "It's a long drop," I said, "but that's all part of the fun. It wouldn't be exciting if it was only a short drop. If it were that way, you might as well just bounce on a real trampoline." I toyed with the idea, picturing myself falling through the air only to bounce back up to the window on something unseen by human eyes. But the realist in me prevailed. "Maybe some other time," I said. "I don't know if I have enough imagination. I could get hurt." Mr. Widemouth's face contorted into a snarl, but only for a moment. Anger gave way to disappointment. "If you say so," he said. He spent the rest of the day under my bed, quiet as a mouse. The following morning, Mr. Widemouth arrived holding a small box. "I want to teach you how to juggle," he said. "Here are some things you can use to practice with before I start giving you real lessons." I looked in the box. It was full of knives. "My parents will kill me!" I shouted. Horrified, Mr. Widemouth had brought knives into my room, objects my parents would never allow me to touch. I'll be spanked and grounded for a year." Mr. Widemouth frowned. "It's fun to juggle with these. I want you to try it." I pushed the box away. "I can't. I'll get in trouble. Knives aren't safe to just throw up in the air, you know." Mr. Widemouth's frown deepened into a scowl. He took the box of knives and slid under my bed, remaining there for the rest of the day. And I began to wonder just how often he was underneath me. I started having trouble sleeping after that. Mr. Widemouth often woke me up at night, saying he had put a real trampoline under the window, a big one that I couldn't see in the dark. And I always declined and tried to go back to sleep, but Mr. Widemouth persisted. Sometimes he stayed by my side until early in the morning, encouraging me to jump. He wasn't so fun to play with anymore. My mother came to me one morning and told me I had her permission to walk around outside. She thought that the fresh air would be good for me, especially since I had been confined to my room for so long. Ecstatic, I put on my sneakers and trotted out to the back porch, yearning for the feeling of the sun shining down on my face. Mr. Widemouth was waiting for me. "I have something I want you to see," he said, but I must have given him a weird look because he then said, "It's safe. I promise." So I followed him to the beginning of a deer trail, which ran through the woods behind my house. "This is an important path," he explained. "I've had a lot of friends about your age. When they were ready, I took them down this path to a special place. You aren't ready yet, but one day I hope to take you there. I returned to the house, wondering what kind of place might lie beyond that trail. 2 weeks after I met Mr. Widemouth, the last load of our things had been packaged into a moving truck. I would soon be in the cab of the truck, sitting next to my father for the long drive to Pennsylvania. I considered telling Mr. Widemouth that I was leaving, but even at 5 years old, I was beginning to suspect that his intentions were not to my benefit, despite what he said otherwise. For this reason, I decided to keep my departure a secret. My father and I were in the truck at 4 a.m. He was hoping to make it to Pennsylvania by lunchtime tomorrow with the help of an endless supply of coffee and a six-pack of energy drinks. He seemed more like a man about to run a marathon, not one about to spend 2 days sitting absolutely still. Early enough for you, sport? My father asked with a hint of sympathy. I nodded and placed my head against the window, hoping against hope for some sleep before the sun came up. I felt my father's hand on my shoulder. Listen, this will be the last move, son. I promise you. I know how hard it's been on you, as sick as you've been. But once Daddy gets promoted, we can finally settle down and you can start making some real friends. Doesn't that sound nice? I opened my eyes as we backed out of the driveway. Mr. Widemouth's silhouette was in my bedroom window. He stood motionless until the truck was about to turn onto the main road, at which point he gave a pitiful little wave goodbye, steak knife in hand. I did not wave back. Years later, I returned to New Vineyard. The piece of land that our house stood upon was an empty lot, except for the foundation, as the building burnt down a few years after my family left. Out of curiosity, I followed the old deer trail that Mr. Widemouth had shown me. Part of me expected him to jump out from behind a tree and scare the living bejesus out of me, but I felt Mr. Widemouth was just gone, somehow tied to a house that no longer existed. The trail ended at the New Vineyard Memorial Cemetery. I noticed that many of the tombstones belonged to children. Hey guys, so at this point in the video, this is where normally I'll talk to you about the story, make some jokes, have a good time with you, but we're not doing that today. Instead today, I'm going to be talking to you about somebody who just passed. In case you didn't hear this morning, it was announced by his family that Chuck Norris has passed away at 86 years. That was a tough pill for me to swallow. I've really always admired the man. He's been in a ton of movies that I've loved over the years. One of my earliest television memories was watching him as Walker, Texas Ranger. And the man really is a cultural icon. I mean, just saying the name, he has his own gigantic set of memes. Like Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups. Chuck Norris pushes the earth. My dad had this stupid shirt that was the many faces of Chuck Norris, and it had an emotion written under it, and it was just the same Chuck Norris glare. I mean, the guy was all over the place, and everybody loved him. It didn't matter if you were right, left, or center. I mean, everybody just admired the man, and I think that really speaks wonders for his character, the type of person that he was. So Chuck Norris was born as Carlos Ray Norris on March 10th, 1940 in Ryan, Oklahoma. And believe it or not, he grew up really poor, and he described himself as a completely unathletic kid. He didn't play any sports because he just wasn't good enough. Well, all of that changed during the Korean War when he went over there and got exposed to martial arts and really fell in love with them. He went on to get black belts in karate, taekwondo, tang soo do, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and judo. And he became a champion. He was very well known for his work with karate in particular. And when he was back in the States, he ended up opening up a whole bunch of dojos. And his clientele included people like Steve McQueen, who eventually got him into acting because once his fighting career was winding up, he was looking for what the next step in his life was. And McQueen convinced him to really get into it, and it led to a whole new evolution in the man's life. He was in a ton of really famous action movies and became a huge star. I mean, some of the movies included A Force of One, Silent Rage, Lone Wolf McQuade. One of my favorites, Invasion USA. That movie just, I don't know, it does something to me every time I watch it. It makes me smile. And he was more recently in movies like Dodgeball, and who can forget his role as the judge in Dodgeball. I mean, it just makes me smile. And obviously The Expendables 2. And how could we not talk about his acting career without just even bringing up Walker, Texas Ranger? I mean, that show was so much fun. I rewatched a lot of different episodes of it over the years, and yeah, it's 90s, but it still stands up, and the fights are always fun to see. That show ran for a good 9 seasons, so it was a real heavyweight of television back then. You know, it's tough when somebody that you look up to as a celebrity passes. I mean, we live vicariously to a certain extent through the media that we watch, and we end up relating to these people even if they never meet us. But Chuck Norris, he was a guy that had a family that loved him. He had a very successful set of careers over the years between his fighting career, his movie career, his service to the nation during the Korean War. And the man loved his God, he loved his family, and he loved his country. I just wanted to say, God bless you, Chuck Norris, and rest well. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. I'm out of here.